Welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. The last couple of months, in fact the last 1 year, have seen a tremendous amount of changes when it comes to the way we pay. Firstly, of course, on account of COVID, we've cut down on the amount of cash we use, and we've started to adopt towards digital payments more vociferously. Even those who up until now have been avoiding it have had perhaps no option as well to a certain extent but to pay for their deliveries, for their shopping, for whatever be the reason, via their apps or digital platforms. And now, of course, we have lots of digital payment bank tie-ups as well. So what does that mean for the customer? How do you deal with all of those fears that you have with respect to security and data and data privacy? And what's the reason behind all of those outages that we see sometimes, even amidst reputed banks? To talk about all of this, I have with me Mandar Agashe, the founder and MD of Sarvatra Technologies. Mandar, thanks so much for joining us today on the show. To start with, Mandar, despite the fact that we're living in an era of no touch and and all of these concerns with respect to our health, still we have seen an increase in the circulation of cash in the system. Indian customers want to use cash more than they want to use the digital mode of payments, which now have increased in number so tremendously. Customers are spoiled for choice. What is the reason behind this tendency to use cash over other modes?
Across our platform, we have seen why cash has increased across various ATMs. So the number of transactions have remained same, but the amount of money withdrawn by the customer has increased by 20%. And that's the reason why the cash in circulation has increased, because they are able to go to visit an ATM with restricted time. So whenever they go, they get more cash just in case they need a medical emergency. So that's on one side. On the other side, because of shops being closed, people are going more for e-commerce. And when they do e-commerce, still people prefer cash on delivery. So they need cash for that also. So there is on one side, people are in the small shops using QR code and replacing checks with digital transactions. Other side, they need cash also. And that's a trend worldwide, not just in India.
Okay. So you don't think that this has anything to do as such with the tendency, and that still the kind of convenience that digi payments offer is unbeatable?
So it's both. Cash is still considered the most convenient form of payment for small value transactions. And for other things, digital is the most convenient, so you don't have to give a check or something like that. So it's both of these will grow or continue to be the dominant factors when it comes to payments.
Okay. Now, Mandar, we've seen a lot of recent tie-ups. HSBC with Google Pay, Phone Pay with Axis Bank, WhatsApp with SBI, so on and so forth. These are individual digital payment apps that now are tying up with the more mainstay big banks. What do they bring to the table in terms of customer service?
So banks are looking for new solutions for their customers to retain their customer, grow their business. So they know they can do limited innovation. These new generation fintechs are more innovative. They are more customer facing. So they know how to make the products more customer friendly. So usually when a fintech ties up with a large bank, they both benefit from each other. So one is the banks brings in the large customer base as well as experience. And on the other side, fintechs brings in the innovation. Same thing happened with Sarvatra. When Sarvatra wanted to take debit cards to rural India, we tied up with all the major banks in India and the corporate banks in India, because that was a correct platform to issue debit cards to rural India. So it's always a type of fintech and banks always helps. And that's a trend I'm seeing for last 10 years. And I think now it's going to happen in the larger banks also. All these years, the larger banks used to issue their own products. But now they realize that the new generation fintechs can really add value. And same way, the fintechs who used to directly go to customers know that going through a bank has its own benefits. So I think it's a good tie-up and good synergy and complementary services that both can live off each other.
But what does this mean, Mandar, for banks? I mean, yes, for both parties, you're getting access to each other's customers and, the technology, etc. But as a customer, what can I expect, I mean, are there any cross-platform benefits? For example, if, let's say, I have an account with HSBC Bank, and their tie-up is with Google Pay. So, I mean, what sort of customer benefits do I get?
So when today the customer has got, say, many products in front of him, if something comes from his bank, he gets that assurance of quality and certain service. And then the advantage is that he might get some preferred services or preferred, what you can say, features, which are only available to the customers of the bank. So there might be something like pay later or some specific feature that the bank and the fintech jointly brings, which a normal customer of that app will not get or a normal consumer of that bank will not have. So these things are in the making, and you'll see more and more such things, better interest or something extra that the customer will get if he adopts for that. Same thing happens when you see insurance companies tying up with banks or any other products. You always get better discounts, or get some additional features. That is what is going to be the differentiator. And also onboarding the customer, doing that, ensuring that the security is there. That added security layers will come in with the bank system helping in the onboarding. So the customer feels more confident that, his bank is also there somewhere. If anything goes wrong, they can physically go to the bank.
So speaking of, customer comfort, security, let's talk about privacy concerns. Are there any when it comes to, the latest high-tech digital payment platforms, or do you think all of those privacy-related concerns are a thing of the past? I also ask you this because of late we've seen an increase in, unfortunately, cybercrime. Almost all of us have been a victim to getting spam emails, but it's been worst for many other individuals who tend to get phishing email requests. And more often than not, we've also seen people clicking on those, links. But anyway, in line of that, using digital payment apps bring on board any such concerns? Or do you think we are ahead of that, sorry?
I think we are behind that because RBI has always been adopting the best possible security features. For example, the data localization that RBI made it compulsory, that helped all the data being local. Then for every transaction, there is a PIN. And there are so many innovative things that happen probably only in India, which is not there anywhere in the world. So because of that, unless you share your PIN, then only you are likely to get hacked. Even if somebody sends you any mail or anything, but if you keep your PIN secure, and you ensure that you don't give out your data. Like example, somebody calls you and asks you for account number and this and that. But still, without the PIN, our transaction in India don't go through. So just getting the ID is not enough. You also need ID plus PIN. So RBI and government has taken all the measures, and one should get educated, how you get educated in internet and everything. You should get educated about e-transactions. That is something I think every bank user and app user should follow. Then we have no concerns. Even your data is totally protected. Your everything is protected. Nobody can misuse that. That is the beauty of the Indian regulatory framework. And all banks, all fintechs follow the PCI DSS guideline, which are the global guideline for security. You cannot be sending data in, without completely secured environment. So it's not something it's just lying there and anybody can pick up and use. So unless the customer himself gives it out to somebody, it's quite secure.
Okay, so that's the reason why the RBI as well tells you very, very clearly that nobody, and I mean nobody, will ask you for your PIN, neither the bank, nor the digital payment provider, nor any official from the government, as well. It's absolutely crystal clear that you have to keep your PIN only in your mind and nowhere else. And finally, Mandar, another something that we've been seeing is app outages. What do you think is causing it? What's your view? And do you think this is one of the biggest disadvantages of using a digital payment app?
So the transactions are surging beyond expectations of every bank and every tech provider. So people like software companies and banks have learned a lot over last 3 years. The transactions have grown beyond anybody's imagination. So banks are moving to the latest infrastructure to cope up with this. And I think most banks would go towards cloud. So cloud would give them the necessary scale that is required. And if you see, each and every small app or bank today are seeing enormous amount of transactions. So these outages, though they happen, banks are able to resolve it quite quickly. So there's a huge learning that has gone in. And as days progress, I think outages will be things of the past.
Well, yeah, that's the hope. It's a learning curve, really. Digital payments as a mode are still relatively new compared to the other technologies we've adopted. But though, having said that, it's been many, many years, almost more than a decade now. Thank you so much, Mandar, for joining us today on the show. I'm sure it's been a very fruitful conversation for our viewers as well. And with that, we're completely out of time, so we're going to wrap it up on the show as well. Thanks for watching.